Hi, everyone. We are back. Are you guys tired of me yet? We have a few more sessions to go, and I'm here with Rudy, who's going to talk about IoT, and one of the coolest services, by the way, IoT Analytics, and I could talk about that at length. But could you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about what's going on?
So, I am Rudy Chetty. I'm a Principal Solutions Architect here at the wonderful AWS, and I'm involved in everything IoT. As you can see, I'm even giving a shout out to my lovely mother.
So if you can't read it on the stream, his badge right now says "Hi, Mom." So what exactly is going on here? So you have the badge, you have a couple different components, you have some stuff on the screen. Can you walk through each of these?
Sure. So look, we built a demo or POC for some of you of a cargo tracking mechanism. So this is for container trucks, which have all these containers go from port to destination. And you know what? I brought one of the components here just to give you an idea. So as you can see, if I take it out of this lovely holder, we've actually got a ESP32. It's a GPS sensor and an OLED screen. So we're actually getting, well, right now we're indoors, but we're getting a good GPS signal from before we walked indoors. And as you can see from the lovely readout here, you can read it, right? We're here at the Javits Center in New York City. Come on, that's in real time. Now, if we switch to kind of more of a, actually, can we switch to this?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's switch to the dashboard, if you can see. Now, this is what we call the Internet of Tracking. If you can see my mouse cursor or not, there is a location. That's the latitude and longitude. We've got the temperature, humidity. We're even tracking if your cargo is shifted in the back of the container. And we've got a fan, so imagine this, right? If it reaches a certain threshold with temperature, it actually makes the fan spin faster to simulate the AC kicking into high gear. So that's what we're doing. And we're tracking the actual location with the GPS sensor. Then we've got the status here, which is whether it's in transit, delayed, or delivered. And of course, you know, customer obsessed, we're going to throw in some Alexa integration. So what I'm kind of showing here is what's possible with the platform. You know, what you can do when you gather data, you can actually put it into AWS, and then from there, using a static S3 website, you can pull it out.
Awesome. So can you walk us through some of the core services that are powering this? Because you know, we have things like Greengrass, we have things like IoT Analytics and the MQTT topics.
You know what? Let's do one better. Let's open up an architecture diagram.
Oh, and it's 3D.
There we go, man. Don't you like that? Isometric, Crusader, no remorse. So you can see we start off with your IoT devices. In this case, we've got a button as well. The button is actually used for drivers on the road. If they're delayed, they push the button, and it can send a signal to tell everyone that they're delayed. Likewise, if they're in transit. You can do it automatically, yes. Everything goes through the AWS IoT core, and it's driven by a serverless computing platform. In this case, AWS Lambda. We store data in DynamoDB. We've got the reverse, where as an end user, you're coming in and going, you know what, where is my ice cream? Because that's the precious cargo that we're transporting. We're saying, well, let me ask Alexa, she'll give me the answer, but what if I want to see it visually? That's where you come in on the left-hand side here as the customer. You hit CloudFront, which is your closest edge location. Shout out to Cape Town and Johannesburg who have edge locations now. For those of you who don't know, I'm from Cape Town. This comes into your static S3 website using the JavaScript SDK with Amazon Cognito. So we've got a whole bunch of services to show you that if you want to build a solution, this is how you would go about it, as an example.
All right. So the CloudFront stuff, the S3 stuff, you know, I've done all that before. I think some of our viewers have probably done that before. I think we understand it. Let's dive a little deeper on the IoT side of things, though. Like, you know, how are we getting messages from this microcontroller into AWS? How are we creating these alarms? How is all of this working?
Well, the honest answer is magic. But the technical answer is we're using this protocol called MQTT, which stands for Message Queue Transport Telemetry. It's a very low payload compared to HTTP. We do support HTTP as well. And it goes from device through Wi-Fi, connecting up to the cloud, and those messages are routed accordingly via IoT rules. In this case, it's routed via an S3 rule. So we store all that data there for historical purposes so that we can perform long-term analysis. But before that, we're actually putting all the info that we need for the actual cargo in DynamoDB. So as you can see here, this row that we're talking about here, that's all stored in DynamoDB. And it can be pulled out using a Lambda function. In fact, I used Python, I used JavaScript, as in Node.js, I used Java. I used all the different types of languages that Lambda supports to show you how easy it is between the tiers. So that's kind of how the messages are coming in. But even better, you can send a message back that way.
Bidirectional.
Yeah, long live bidirectional. I see we've done our homework.
I have done several blog posts on IoT at this point, after being locked into the blogging room.
I'm just teasing you, man. But I suppose we can shift away from the dashboard. It's fun to see, but.
So I mean, can you show us the console, like the IoT Analytics console, and any of those things?
So the IoT, signing in might be a bit of an issue because of the the credentials that we need to get in. But what I will say is this, right? Think of all your data coming in through AWS IoT Core. In the past, you'd have to utilize something like Kinesis to actually stream it and then make use of it later down the line. Right now, we've got a product called AWS IoT Analytics, which keeps it all within the same family. And you can do the same things. You set up a channel. That channel, fair enough, is going to come from AWS IoT Core or Kinesis. So you can have multiple inputs. You can then transform it using a pipeline. So maybe the data is coming in Celsius. You want to transform it to Fahrenheit. That's where you could do it. And then from there, you can start to actually store the data, whether it's processed, whether it's raw data, because think about it. If you lose your raw data, you might be upset. So we'll store both in a data store that is backed by AWS IoT. Additionally, once you go down the line, you're going to use what we call data sets. And these data sets can be queried, you're querying against your existing data using SQL. A lot of people know SQL. I mean, I've done my fair share when I was a developer. And from there, you go down, and you can actually use machine learning. It's kind of like where we're going one step at a time. We're walking before we can sprint. And with machine learning, you're using Jupyter notebooks. You can even use Amazon SageMaker to build and train your models.
Those notebooks are hosted in the SageMaker service, right?
There you go.
So, okay, let me kind of break this down and make sure I've got it all. So we have channels, and the channels are our entry point into the IoT service. So that's where...
Well, IoT Analytics.
IoT Analytics.
Yes.
So we have, our MQTT topic, or we have our Kinesis stream that's feeding data into IoT Analytics. And we have our channels. Then we have this concept of pipelines. And these pipelines consume the channel, and they output to a data store. Mm-hmm. And that data store allows us to instantiate data sets. And then we can perform operations on those data sets. And at every point in this transition, we have the option of invoking Lambda functions or some other method of performing sort of transforms.
Sure, yes.
So it seems like there's a little bit of overlap here between like Kinesis Analytics and IoT Analytics. Mm-hmm. So could you kind of tell us what when would I want to use Kinesis Analytics and when would I want to use IoT Analytics?
So look, the fair point is that you can use both, right? You can. The whole reasoning between IoT Analytics is, again, to keep it in the same family. So the IoT ecosystem itself, so that everything is self-contained. And customers don't have to move between different services. With Kinesis Analytics, that came out prior to IoT Analytics, which is why a lot of people use it, and you still can, right? And you can use it for your traditional big data workloads. Maybe you've got lots of data coming in from streams, or you've got a legacy data set that you want to perform analytics on. This is where it comes in handy. And I will say that if you're going to start a new workload, right, go with IoT Analytics. If you're going to do it from scratch, you stay in that kind of system, because the integrations are trying to become more and more tight, in the sense that you don't have to move the data to an S3 bucket and then perform some analysis.
There's some additional advantages as well, in that with Kinesis Analytics, once the stuff is done being, transformed, like you can use Firehose and you can send it out to S3 or something, but it's not queryable, until maybe you use Athena or some other method of, querying it on S3. Whereas with IoT Analytics, once you have that data set, like that's a queryable item. You can write SQL against that and get real-time insights and stuff. So that's another kind of advantage, I think, for IoT Analytics.
You know what? I am a fan of Athena. The fact that you pay per query, it's the duration of the query and the amount of data you scan, very flexible too.
So you're talking about greenfield projects, new IoT Analytics applications. So. Or IoT applications. So where do developers get started with AWS IoT? What should they look at first?
So I will say this, right? If you're interested in actually getting a device up and running and online, something as similar as the ESP32, you can use this IoT workshop that we created. It's up on our AWS samples. I think, in fact, someone might be pasting it in the chat right now. And that goes from connecting a device to the AWS IoT core and then performing a simple workload. And this simple workload is simulate that the temperature has gone to a certain level, and then send out an email. And how would you do that? Using Lambda and SNS. Lambda being our serverless compute option, and SNS being simple notification service. You can use SNS to send out emails or SMSs. I mean, look, I don't know if, do you yeah, people still use email. People still use email, yeah.
Everything goes to a webhook now, so it's like a Slack channel or a Facebook Messenger bot. Or if you've just been like really bad, it'll send you some, like Twilio SMS, like this is immediately important, please pay attention.
But it's always important. How can you not know that it's always important?
I know, anytime the temperature goes
Even
over.
the email. Then again, I cleared out my inbox before we shared our screen, so conveniently.
And you have your visualization here, this dashboard that you built on top of the S3 static app, but there's also Amazon QuickSight. And with QuickSight, you can kind of render all of this IoT data. It's just exposed as yet another data source within QuickSight. So, I mean, it's pretty powerful if you consider the fact that, let's imagine the scenario, right? You have City Bike, or you have some sort of bike share or scooter share program, and you have thousands and thousands and thousands or even millions of these things going around, shooting off GPS coordinates, shooting off time coordinates and stuff. And you can actually visualize that on a map in QuickSight. You can visualize it in terms of hotspots and all this other stuff. And when it comes to running an ML algorithm, you can do that too, just from the Jupyter Notebook. It's pretty well integrated. I think I had kind of stayed away from IoT until I needed to write this IoT Analytics blog post. And when I really dove into it, I was surprised at how integrated everything was, but at the same time, how orthogonal each of the pieces was. You can use each one of these services in isolation, and if you already have a solution in your business that solves like the analytics purpose, or a solution in your business that solves the MQTT purpose, you can still make use of these other components. So you're not like locked into any one thing. It's pretty smart design in my opinion, because it helps everyone.
But you know what? That's the beauty of AWS's platform itself. Like as a whole, you plug and play as you need. And like you said, using QuickSight, in fact, you know what, because you brought it up, is when I actually built this dashboard, QuickSight wasn't out yet. So I'm like, well, how do I visualize stuff? And I thought, let me make a static S3 website, again, using CloudFront, Route 53, all of that. And when QuickSight came out, it's just like, I can just reuse all of these charts and output the data, and then you can visualize it as you go. It's Again, I really like the fact that you've mentioned QuickSight. Because a lot of customers are like, well, how do I visualize it once I've got it into?
I mean,
what's the output?
And you're not even locked into QuickSight, right? It's still just a queryable collection. So you could make it a data source in Tableau. You can make it a data source in anything. So even if you don't like QuickSight or you want to use something else, like it's perfectly.
I didn't know if we could mention Tableau.
No. Like
we're giving you options, customers. You, the customer.
So. You were building this, and I'm curious, like, what were some of the common pitfalls that you faced as you were building it?
Make sure you use a USB cable that is actually a USB cable and not a USB power cable. So you try and power on the device and flash it, and it's like, why is nothing happening? I mean, it's turning on.
Fried.
Something as silly as that would happen, right? Apart from that, start small and build up from there. Get the device connected. From here with the dashboard, build one widget, then build out multiple once you've got that first one working. Another thing I will mention is if you're trying to simulate lots of devices, use the device simulator. That came out a few weeks ago. That is a very powerful tool in the sense that you get to simulate lots of devices generating data and pushing it out to the cloud. I mean, you don't have to go and connect 1,000 of these. Well, you could, but don't. use the device simulator. It's all of them that you plug in. In fact, you know what? There is a real-time solution with Kinesis Data Analytics. It's in the Builder Hub.
That's pretty cool. So we have a couple questions from the stream.
Oh, sure, let's do that.
Badger asks, how are all the IoT devices being patched? Let's say you have a security fault. Like, how secure is it, and how is it being patched?
So we've got 2 different services, Device Management and Device Defender. Both of them allow you to patch over the air. So you can do that.
All right. Well, that's that question answered. So you're trying to start small, right? Like, you're trying to deal with your small problem, and then let's say I've figured out what my basic solution is. It's this.
Ooh, there's a fly.
Yeah, there is.
I should have bathed yesterday.
I figured this out. I've got it working. How do I take this solution and now I want to put it in every shipping container everywhere? And every time I say the word container, I'm sure half the audience is going to think about Fargate and
container,
EKS and stuff. But this kind of container. It's what we ship Werner in between all the keynotes. So let's say we've got this container. Like, how do I get this kind of setup and turn it into something I can manufacture, or something that I can put in every other container?
First thing is to prototype, and prototype to get to the stage where you're going, you know what, this is my finalized model, and then you work with the partner. We have several partners you can actually partner up with to manufacture these devices. And once you do that, the cost drops. It drops significantly, because you're going from buying individual components to building it in mass, and they're actually going to create the PCB for you, the printed circuit board. And they'll embed the sensors. It's a lot more economical, and again, it allows you to it allows you to deploy your solution once you're ready. Like, if we want to go and put these into actual container trucks and secure them and make sure that the aerial is outside so that you can get a signal.
And you can have, so there's this other concept called Greengrass. And Greengrass is this, the microcontroller is one thing. Let's say you had a more advanced device that had a little more compute power and needed to do a little bit more stuff, something like a deep lens. So you have this thing called the Greengrass agent that's running on the device, and you can ship out new code to it. It's basically a target for your deployments, and you basically send it just Lambda functions.
Yeah.
So that's another way of updating these IoT devices over time. Is if you're running the Greengrass agent in the background, you can even run the Greengrass agent on your laptop. So you could have the Greengrass agent running and shipping out Lambda functions to that, and they can do infinite inferences, and you can run local ML. You can
Greengrass is awesome.
APIs.
Device-to-device communication without the cloud, you're offloading it.
It's pretty cool. And then there's the IoT Core device, which is kind of how you can do that with the microcontrollers, and the IoT Core device runs the Greengrass agent. Very, very cool stuff. And just really quickly before we go, from C-Chalk, we have one last question, which is, what communication and authentication protocols do you support? Which I think you covered already, but let's repeat it for C-Chalk here.
So communication protocols, MQTT, WebSockets, HTTP, authentication, SIG-v4, X509, or custom authentication tokens.
Does it do mutual X509 or just?
Yes. No, wait.
I don't remember. So it's okay if you don't know.
It's okay if we don't know. I'll say, hi, Emily.
All right. Well, that's...
Yeah? Is that it? We're wrapping up already?
I think so. I think we are completely out of time. But don't go away. We have more sessions coming up.
Wakanda forever.
Thank you so much for watching the IoT session. Let's go to the next section.